So let me ask a couple structured questions that'll give some actionable items for a family, right? For a father or a mother, what can they do to protect their children from this indoctrination in regards to schooling?
So, in regards to schooling, I would say first and foremost, if we can put our kids in Muslim school, that's obviously going to be better. Uh, that might not be an option for everybody, obviously, because of costs and things like that. And so, another thing we're going to do is think about homeschooling. And you guys can also add, by the way, this I'm not.
So, what do you think about, let's say, I agree with you that for the ideal, me personally, I feel the ideal is homeschooling. That should be at number one. But of course, you have to supplement that with other things, right? Social activities and whatnot. So, if you're close to the masjid, you have a good, vibrant community, you can actually offset and have a very healthy kid that way. Personally, I think that's number one. Someone can. It depends. If you have a very good Islamic school, that might actually be number one. So it
Yeah,
depends what.
because it's important to be careful about who your kids will befriend and things like that, right?
The problem is that even in Islamic school, sometimes you'll have kids who are from, they
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes that also rubs off. So that's fine.
As parents, we have to be careful who our kids befriend, interact with, all this kind of thing. I know it seems very like, oh my God, but this is actually where we are with our children, and we see it daily, with Muslim kids and the kind of questions we're getting and the kind of things we're seeing,
Yeah.
and then we also see the causes of it, right? We shouldn't be that asleep. Muslims should be awake. We should have firasa. We should see where things are headed. We should take things to their conclusion, where this is going. And we're already seeing the ill effects of it. So that's why we did this video. We thought, like, you know what, we should talk about this a little bit, bring this, and just show people at least, like, this is for toddlers. I mean, this is written for toddlers.
Yeah,
So we got to
it's
teach our kids at home our values, our religion, all of these things. We should be indoctrinating our kids at home. And it's important that we empower our kids and also make them stand up for our cause, right?
If they see something in school, they should speak up against it, right?
Exactly.
So go ahead, Hafiz Fadl. You were saying something?
no, I was just saying like it's from tending to the kids the stimulus that they have from a very young age. Like historically, this is something that has been identified, especially in their very, very young ages, that we need to control at whatever level. Like you think about even in the Arab culture in the past, they used to send the kids out to the Bedouin tribes out and to learn Arabic, to stay away from the fahsha of the city, so forth and so on. Such extremes to even send the kid out away from family to make sure that their childhood goes, that their progression and understanding, the simple things of the earth don't get deterred by the
Yeah.
the obscenities that may be happening in mainstream city. Like we need to be very, very clear, and like we need to make sure we
Yeah,
filter
they used to send
to the
them out
best
to
of our
learn
ability.
culture and things like that. That's very
Right,
important.
right. So
Yeah.
like we can't send our kids out to like, to some Bedouin tribe sitting, like Amish territory for Muslims. Maybe we might have one of those one of these days. Allahu alam. But like the reality is like even at a micro level, uh, you know, social media, phones, tablets. If you look at interviews of
100%.
very prominent tech giants and ex CEOs and ex directors, they talk about how their kids don't have phones, they don't have tablets, they have limited monitored screen time. Like even at a micro level, if we can't afford Islamic school, or maybe we don't have the home structure to support homeschooling, there are things we can also actively do that are very, very simple. Kids might push off as oppression and, oh, I'm behind other kids, but in the reality, like we have to as parents like put the foot down on certain rules and regulations to minimize
And
the
your kids
effect
will
that
thank
this
you when
has
they
on our
grow up.
families.
Yeah.
For sure, absolutely.
Yeah. It's
And
hard
also, we
work.
need to educate
We
ourselves
have
as
to.
parents. Sometimes, a lot of times, we don't say or do anything with our kids is because we ourselves aren't confident enough.
Right.
So just basically watch out for where your kids can be indoctrinated from, right? Whether it's devices, whether it's school. And if you try Islamic school or homeschooling, if you if your kids, if there's no choice but for them to go to public school, then you're in a very tough place. If you can actually try to reduce your standard of living and have one parent stay at home and do homeschooling, because what's more important, right? Having an extra 2,000 square feet, or is it more important to have the people within those square feet healthy? So if that's an option, do that. But worst case scenario, your kids are in school, so definitely now you have to actually talk to them about all the things, all these things, and make an effort to find out what's being taught, and counter that, right? Counter all that, so that your child is. Yeah, like, this is actually not ideal. The ideal is that they never are introduced to this, but if they're being introduced to the negative, you're going to have to introduce them to the positive early on, right?
Talk to your kids, yeah.
Talk to your kids and tell them, hey, proactively, if you see someone, reinforce the concepts of gender and say, if do the exact opposite. Hey, do you think that there could be a third gender? And you're going to naturally see the kid will say, of course not, right? And then what you do is, like you say, if someone said this, what would you do? And then kind of guide them to be like, okay, I would stand up and say, no, this is wrong, right? So reverse the roles, or reverse this game like that they're playing on on our children, and even at the community level. And this is the last thing I wanted to go to. At the community level, I think that there's a couple of things we need to do, right? One is establish a maktab, because whether we like it or not, 95% of Muslim kids are going to be in public school, right?
Right.
That's what's really going to happen. That's practically what is happening. That's not what we want to happen.
Yeah,
We
that's
want
reality.
yeah, we want that shift to happen, but that's what's on ground right now. But at the very least, we can establish such systems where in the maktab, like we have to, like a lot of times in much of the communities, they're like, okay, we don't want to talk about these things. That's fine, but unfortunately, this is the reality. We're gonna have to do that and counter these things in the makatib. What do you think about that, Mona Sadullah?
Yeah, I think the definitely they need to be addressed.
It could be in a way where it's like, okay, if parents who are already homeschooling their kids or putting them in private school, Islamic school, they can opt out of that type of section in maktab or something.
No, not even that. I mean, like, we just give them the Islamic values, so the kids are very clear about this is what Islam is teaching. Naturally, the kids will have questions, and the teachers should be ready to address those questions.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that they can do, and work with hikmah and things like that. So
But
inshallah,
imagine like, you have a kid who's learning all these words and private parts and everything. And if like, can you actually counter that without being a bit more explicit?
I think there is a way. You have to flip the script. I forgot if it was Hafiz Musab or Molana Abdullah that mentioned, but you have to kind of flick the script on them. Like, for example, when my siblings come, like if they say some kind of word or something, I'll say, only bad people say those kind of words, or only people who have no shame use those kind of words. And so what happens is then they have this alternative perspective that, oh, I heard this in school, the teacher said this, but now, oh, Baijan said good people
Don't
don't
even
say
talk
stuff
about
like
it.
that.
Exactly. Yeah, I like that. So we should like reinforce, not only like we should reinforce the fact that these things we don't even speak about, right? That's very important.
yeah.
And finally,
Language, culture, values, these are things that it's
yeah,
going to take a concerted effort. Family, masjid, their maktab, their teachers, their Islamic teachers, and things like that. Everybody needs to be, but it's all going to start up from waking up, at least in the first instance, that there is a movement like this, right? It's publishing books, it's making cartoons, it's seeped into just about everything that kids interact with.
yeah.
So the first step is that be aware that this is happening, and then wherever you see where you need to make sure to counter its effect, go ahead and be active at that. Don't be nonchalant about it, because
It's
this
it's
is affecting the way your kids think.
Let's talk about political engagement. So how can Muslims politically engage, to counter this?
I would say simply stand up with those groups who stand for the traditional values. So, like, we have a lot of people in the country, not necessarily even Muslims, that
Right.
are against, and they're speaking out against, and they're standing against these kind of things being pushed onto our kids. Muslims should also stand and raise their voice, and also stand against it politically.
Yeah. All.
the
Go ahead.
I was saying it's like a form of Newtonian physics. Like, if you get a force, you have to have a stronger force to overcome it. We have this odd situation where the voice of few is louder than the silence of many, and so I think that's the peculiarity of the situation. And since the problem is we aren't, you know, all unifying and all actually speaking out as loud as these people are speaking out. Where's the books solidifying gender? Where's this books solidifying, parents and their respect for them? These kind of publications should be coming out nonstop too, and the effort has to be that way.
Yeah.
And also, I just want to make one point. We shouldn't, like, necessarily, if kids have questions and stuff, we shouldn't shut them down and say, don't talk like that. But that's not what we mean. If the kid
For
has a
sure.
question, make sure we get them the answer, because that's
Right.
something that's going to sit in their head. And if you don't answer it, is going to turn into something much more severe. So make a lot of dua also, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects our iman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects our haya. All of this stems from, once they took iman out of the picture, a lot of things already became normal, right? A lot of immoralities became normal. Like, okay, this is moral now. And then when haya is also gone completely, so then anything goes. Anything, fasna ma shi'ta, as the hadith says. They just go ahead and do whatever you want. And that's what we need to protect our families, our kids, and ourselves from, and our society also on a political level.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
So to wrap it up, just focus on making sure that anywhere your child can get brainwashed from, just cut those off. And especially, schooling, try to make that the best way best arrangement you can. Work politically, work in your masjid in all levels to actually protect your children. So inshallah, we'll wrap it up with that. We hope that was, that was a good, um, you know, like
Yeah, we
it
hope
brought
everybody
awareness.
takes a lesson from it.
Sorry?
I say we hope everybody takes a lesson that these things are out there, just on display and being promoted. So
Yeah. Jazakumullah khairan, and please, give a like to this video, subscribe, and leave your comments below. So that'll give the channel more reach, and it'll help the message reach to more people. Jazakumullah khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
salam.
Assalamu alaikum.